Hey, this is Matthew Ricks, and today on the Music Business Newsletter, we got an email from an artist, guy's in his 20s, wants to know when does music stop being about creative and start being a business. But before we get started, special shout out to the greatest travel softball franchise in the world, the Middle Tennessee Explosion. My daughter, Hope, just hit a home run out of the park. First one ever. We've been working tirelessly for that. And I just want to say congratulations to her, how proud I am of her, and to the greatest travel ball softball franchise in the world, Middle Tennessee Explosions. Coach Adrian, after she hit the home run, said, I want a long, lengthy post. Well, I'm doing one better. I'm putting you in the Music Business Newsletter. Look at this. Be sure to pick yourself up a Middle Tennessee Explosion hoodie or shirt, hat, and you can be like yours truly. But congratulations to my daughter, Hope, Coach Adrian Garcia, and the entire Middle Tennessee Explosion team. Y'all did great. Now for the email. He says, hey, Matthew, I've been wrestling with this question for a while, and I'd figured I'd finally write it out. I'm an independent artist in my late 20s, and I've been making music seriously for about 6 years. And for the first few of those years, everything was driven by instinct and emotion. Sounds like an up-and-coming artist. Just when I feel like it, we're going to jot down a hit. He says, I wrote when I felt something, released when it felt right, and didn't really think about strategy, money, or outcomes. That part was pure and honestly really fun. So when we started the Matrix Minute in 2014, I remember calling John Clark and said, I just want to help artists. Like, I don't really care what the numbers are. I don't care what it does. If I can help 5 artists, then awesome. And it took off, like 20,000 streams a day in 2014. And there were people who wanted me to really start thinking about the business and the logistics of the whole thing. And for me, I always just said it didn't feel organic. And luckily for me, I've been blessed because over the last 12 years now, when we do the Matrix Minutes, when we do events, when we do even these newsletters, there is a team of people who they worry about that stuff because I don't chase money. I don't worry about money. Anytime I've ever chased after money, it's been a miserable project and I never had enough. When I just kind of let everything else happen, it works out great. But in your situation, up and coming artist in your 20s, you have to kind of juggle all of it yourself. And I do understand the battle between being a purist and just wanting to be devoted to the art, but also realizing it is a business. But let's continue. He says, but now things feel different. I'm spending real money every time I release something, recording, mixing, mastering, artwork, and promo. It all adds up fast. I ask this, like every time you guys, one of you throws promo in, you never tell me what promo. Playlist promotion? Instagram ads? What are we talking promo here? He says it all adds up fast. Yes, it does. It really does. He says, I'm also making choices based on what I think might work instead of what I necessarily want to make. So there is the problem right there, is because now you're chasing money. You're looking to recoup the money you put into it. And so now you're just kind of doing something, hoping that it sticks. You're not passionate about it. Your audience knows you're not passionate about it. You probably feel like a sellout and throw up in your mouth a little bit every time you release something. I've worked with artists in A&R like this, and I was the guy who was like, you got to keep writing these type of songs because this is what the bigger bosses want. And I see some of them die inside. Now there's some artists that they're just like, cool, let's cash those checks. And sometimes they work, sometimes it doesn't. I know for me with the Matrix Minute, and I know for me with these newsletters, we'll have some that I do really well. And then my team who means well will be like, oh, you should do another Matrix Minute like that. Or we're going to get another email. Here's another email like the one that, popped for you or whatever. And I just don't do it. I would rather be pure to myself than sell out for some bucks. But before you run with that, all the money that comes in from the newsletter or the Matrix Minutes or whatever, the music business is my full-time gig. I do the Matrix Minute and these newsletters to help you, the artist. So I'm not banking on anything. If I lost monetization on these videos, I'd be fine. But I'm also not 20 and like working a day job and then putting all my money into music and then hoping that it recoups. So I know that you're in a tough spot, but let's continue with the email. He says, I don't know when music is supposed to transition from being mostly creative to being a business decision, or if that transition is even healthy. I think that you got to worry about the business of the music industry. I think you gotta be careful where your money goes. I think that you do need to think about, okay, if I'm going to spend $1,000 on Instagram ads, am I going to get that back in streams? If the answer is no, don't spend the $1,000 if you don't have it. If you just got it laying around, sure, knock yourself out. Go have a grand old time. I think that your biggest problem right here is you've probably gone too far worried about the business decision, and there's not a balance. So it's like either all art or nothing, or it's all business or nothing. And you can find it in the middle where you can be an astute business person. Some of the best artists are, and you still are committed to your art. You know, you almost have to divide it up into two different things. You have to divide it up into like Bob A is like the artist who writes the songs and everything. Bob B is the shrewd businessman. And until you get a team who takes the part B over, that's kind of how you have to be. You can't be one or the other, because then you're going to sacrifice art, or you're going to be just like the artist who has 12 monthly listeners, but you're a purist. He says, so what I'm asking is, at what point should an artist treat their career primarily like a business? I don't think you ever should treat your career primarily like a business. But I do think that, like I said, you have to have elements of the artistic value plus the business side. He says, how do you decide what's worth spending money on versus what just feeding the illusion of progress? If you're doing playlist placement, I want to do ads on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. I just want it because you get a lot of traffic, but they don't stick around. What I would do is I would devote my time to building personal relationships with people. If somebody likes likes a comment that you made, or likes a post, follows you, I would spend my time, which is free monetarily, building a relationship with them. If you're playing shows, I would try to do everything you could to get people to come to those shows and then spend time with them at the show, talking with them, growing with them, all of that. So they can walk away being like, that dude is awesome. I'm a fan for life. He says, is it possible to measure success without letting numbers dictate your creative choices? I think you have to be most punk rock bands are great at this. They just kind of do what they want. They're not chasing anything. The punk bands that chase stuff, they usually, you can sniff it out a mile away. They kind of make the music they want, and they hope that it connects. I think that you have to decide what you're comfortable with, because if something popped and you got to play that song for the next 15 years, 200 nights a year, are you going to be okay with that? Are you going to feel good about yourself? Or are you going to throw up in your mouth every time you got to play it? And I think that right now, as you're writing songs, as you're releasing songs, you got to have to kind of look into the future and decide if that is something that you're okay with having a 10-year career. And if the answer is yes, then go for it. If the answer is no, probably not, don't. He says, how do you know when you're building something sustainable versus just chasing validation dressed up as a strategy? Well, you'll know if you're building something sustainable because it will be sustainable. It's why, these guys who pay for Spotify plays or YouTube views, they see that spike, but then it drops right back down. And so for 1 hour a day, you get a spike and then it drops. And I think that you'll know when something is sustainable because it will be evened out growth. Like I know with the music business newsletter, the growth is it comes on and it goes away. Sometimes we have weeks, we'll have a week where every video is popping off. And then we have another week where the algorithm doesn't push it out. Minimal views for those who watch. Thank you. And so for me, I look at sustainability as overall. Like our Matrix Minute numbers are huge on every release we do. Well, the YouTube channel is just getting going. We've been doing the Matrix Minute for 12 years. We've been doing the Music Business Newsletter for 12 weeks at this moment. So you look at sustainable growth as it's just consistency. Where people get tripped up is they like those huge spikes, that they get from buying followers or advertising or whatever, then it drops back down, back to earth. Now you're like, it's like a dopamine hit, and now you don't know what to do. So sustainability is this. It's just a little gradual going up. It's not huge spikes. So it's like, for me, if I get a new subscriber a day, I'm happy. Would I love 1,000 subscribers a day? Yeah, it's more people I get to help. But I like that one, because then I didn't pay for that. And that's what sustainability growth looks like. He says, I'm not looking for motivation or permission to quit. I'm trying to understand how people who've lasted a long time think about this shift without losing themselves in it. I think, yeah, you make the music that you're most comfortable with, but then you handle the business as a business. So you don't let the art dictate the business, but you do let the business dictate where the art goes, where the art spends its money. There is no shortcuts to success. It just doesn't happen. What it does is the shortcuts will end up making you even more miserable and more depressed, because it's just constant highs and lows. Or if you're buying followers or buying plays or whatever, you might have these huge numbers, but nobody believes it, including yourself. Well, you don't want that. So you just need to look for, if I was in A&R still, I would rather take an artist who's consistent for 20 years than an artist who rises and falls. Because now we got something that no matter what we do, it is not going to stick. And that's a terrible place for the artist. That's a terrible place for the label. If you're playing arenas this year, but next year, because now nobody's sweating you, you're back in clubs, like that's very demoralizing for you. Also, the record labels probably put a lot of money to try to get you back in those arenas, even though now you're back to being a club band. And it doesn't happen that quickly all the time. So I appreciate the email. Thank you. And if you have a question on the music industry, go to MatthewRicks.com, click submit your question. Give me as many details as possible, and we will answer it here on the channel. Until next time, I'm Matthew Ricks. I will talk to you soon. Hey, this is Matthew.